This is the world's hottest and realest internet radio station, none other than MOCRadio.com. And of course, also representing Radio Soul. This is Brandon, the new Jack Kid Wright. And joining me today is truly an honor to be sitting in front of a prominent, and I mean prominent, saxman of all sorts and actor as well. He has an extensive resume from Barry White, Tina Turner, Jennifer Lopez. Yes, if you saw the Let's Get Live video, he was that guy playing tenor in the video. He's also been seen, via Alan McBeal, and he's also going to talk about his current single, Where Do We Go From Here? The one and only, my brother from another, and my Sax brotherhood, Michael Cates. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, and I don't think you want to be calling me a brother after the way I looked in that Jennifer Lopez video. I look like I don't even know. I look like a white puff.
Blowing and puffing and saying, I told you, I don't stop blowing. I don't stop blowing.
Adidas sponsored that, and they gave us all tracksuits. And man, we were so washed out. We all looked like Kleenex. That's what we looked like. With stripes. Don't get the stripes in.
But hey, I mean, it was great to see you in the video, and I'm pretty sure you had a great time.
Man, that place, that Rose Bowl holds a lot of people, and they were all there.
I could imagine. I mean, watching the video, and it's funny, but before we got on deck today, I was looking at that video again, and I spoke to LC, and I noted to him that you were going to be on the show. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember you played that song and told me about him being in the video."
Yeah. I think we did 3 tunes on that show. I don't remember, it was a while ago, but I just remember that was during the Puffy days.
Yes,
So,
yes, it was. Yeah.
Entourage was there. It was a show. That's all I can tell you.
Well, hey, I mean, I'm glad to see that you were a part of it, and of course, you're also doing your own thing to where you're able to still do side work and various other projects. So much respect to you in that area.
I appreciate it. I'll take all the work I can get, though. I never quit. If I could just do TV for the rest of my life, I'd be even more happy. Because this recording racket is a racket.
Yeah. And I see you've been recording quite a few songs within this decade. From looking at all the records that you brought out to the masses, Get On Up, Newport, Nights, I believe it was, and your current song, Where Do We Go From Here? Like, you've been moving.
I've been moving, but we did a full album in 2022, and I think I was advised by people that allegedly are smarter than me. Don't do any more albums. You're foolish to waste your tunes. So I'll be doing a full album January 10th, 2025, because you can single yourself. Like, I write a lot of songs, and I probably have more songs than I have years left to live. If I was to single them every 6 months, I got a lot of material. So I'm definitely going to put a record out in January. So I'll put 12 tracks out, and I'll probably single off that record, going into 2025. But we've got a lot of music coming up.
Awesome. You definitely got to let us know when that is available to the general public, because we will play the music, because I've been playing Where Do We Go From Here, and even putting it on throughout the show when doing the breaks and going prior to going to commercial. So I'm always hyping up the music, so let me know when it's available.
My radio promoter, Adam Leibowitz, he gets in touch with me. He goes, "Cates, you broke pop radio. You're in soul. WMOC is playing you." I said, "Come on, that's my people."
Mm-hmm.
That's where I go back from in my early days. I started with the main ingredient. Can you believe it?
Really?
With Cuba Gooding back in the day, the senior, Tony Silvestri, all those guys. I played with them in the early 80s.
I believe you. You know, it's funny. By the way, shout out to our friend Rashad. I believe you mentioned that
Yeah.
when you were on deck with him not too long ago.
Yeah. I had forgotten.
Yeah, because when you brought up Cuba Gooding Sr., I'm like, wait a minute. He mentioned that when he was on deck on the R&B talk show. So yeah, much respect to Rashad and when he interviewed you and so forth.
It gets even better. How about Lady Lydia Murdoch, superstar? Do you remember her? That's going
Yes,
back.
I do.
That was the answer to Billie Jean that Murdoch put up. That was I was with those. We did a whole thing. Main Ingredient, Lydia Murdoch, and then I got with Terry Tate. Babies Having Babies. That was a big hit with Atlantic, and I got involved with Paul Kaiser, the producer, and we smashed it with that record with Terry. Now Terry's left us; he has passed away. But those were early beginnings for me, and I was blessed because I've always been on the R&B side. Uh, Motown, the Black radio has always they treated me just wonderfully, and it's kind of where my roots are and where my loyalty is.
Right? And that it should be. And the beautiful thing about Black radio and Black music in general, the saxophone, no matter which one it is truly appreciated.
Hey, when rock and roll dropped us, like whatever garbage you want to put on, we knew where we were going to play, and then we continue to do so. So it's that's a big honor in my life anyway. And gospel, I mean, I was raised on gospel, and it's what I prefer to play anyway. I don't get a lot of opportunity to showcase that side, but I sure do love it.
Right. And as you should. I mean, it is a blessing. And I can definitely agree with you on that and relate to you on that because the church that I grew up in here in South Florida, I remember doing a presentation, and prior to doing the presentation, there was a guest saxophonist who was sitting in with the music ministry, and I didn't say a word until he got done playing. Like
Yeah.
that's how amazing he was with sharing his gift with the whole congregation.
You can find any random worship band, probably across the country, and they will put most recording artists to shame in their ability.
Yep.
There's not a bad worship band, in the gospel side. Every time I listen, I mean, my guys, I'm in Dallas, and it's a lot of ministry here, and each and every musician just astounds me. They're amazing. I work with Jordash Grant. Um, Lots of y'all know who he is, and Jaborn. These guys here, they're all involved in it as well. And you get in front of Jordash on a piano, and you want to cry because
Really?
he reminds you just how bad you are.
Oh,
It's a fact. These guys are the best.
oh,
The music here is crazy. I mean, I moved here from Los Angeles. I mean, we still live in Orange County part of the year, but I came here because my band was here, and the musicianship was, as far as I was concerned, the top rate of everywhere. I mean, guys in LA will argue, tell you they're the best. Guys in New York, they'll tell you the best, but I found them to be the best here.
yeah. It's just a matter of going in the middle of the nation to find great music and just real musicianship. And I say that, being from Minneapolis and also having been here in Greater Miami, aka South Florida, for 23 years now. And I've noticed like music is definitely here, and it's also in Dallas where you are. So like
Oh, it's
going beyond the majors like New York and LA, I mean, is the way to go. So I definitely commend you on going to Dallas.
Hey, I started on the East Coast, so I'm from the tri-state area, New York, New
Oh yeah,
Jersey.
that's right. Jersey.
Right, so I come from there, and I wanted to be on the West Coast, and I was in the service when I got out. I moved myself out to the West Coast, um, and it was a dream come true for me, and we had very good times, a lot of success there, but I needed to come down to Dallas, and it was the best decision I ever made. So musically speaking, it was. And it might not have all the glitz that LA does, but they don't have to show off here. They know they're better.
And being in Dallas currently, I do want to ask you this question. Like, what are some of the influences that you continue to showcase even in Dallas? Like, who are like the musicians that have shaped the sound of Michael Cates?
That is so absolutely difficult because, and this is my quote, so it's copywritten, so don't try to steal it.
Oh no, I'm not doing nothing.
we are just an amalgamation of everything that we've taken in, basically. You listen. I mean, I was young. Look, go back to the old Tony Curtis movie, Some Like It Hot. So I'm a kid. It's a black and white movie. I'm watching Tony Curtis strap this thing around his neck and plug it into the back of a brass-looking instrument. And I said to my mother, who was a musician, I said, "What is that?" She says, "That's a saxophone." And right away I said, "It's electric. I think I could play that." And so that's the reason I became a saxophone player.
Oh,
When it came time to
nice.
pick an instrument, in my mind, I thought, wow, I get to plug this thing in. It's going to be great. And well, I found out it wasn't electric, but it would be later when the Iwi came out.
Yes.
And, and I got to work on that original prototype with Michael Brecker and Niall Steiner. Michael was a very good friend of mine, and we would commiserate over very nerdy things like the speed of attack times and algorithms and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I miss Mike every day of the week. So you want to talk about influence? That was the influence. That was the influence of all influences, and it always will be. I always say he was the greatest sax player that ever lived, and I'm sure there's many people that will disagree and say you're wrong. What about Rollins? What about Coltrane? Well, they were all the amalgam of what came into Michael Brecker's head. Hence, we are an amalgamation of everything we hear. So we're all a little bit of an influence of everything, if that makes sense.
No, it definitely makes sense. And I'm so glad you mentioned Michael Brecker because when I was in my junior year of high school, I was watching a concert of his. My band director in high school, he plays sax, and his primary was, and it still is, tenor. And for him to showcase this performance of Michael Brecker, like that was just an eye opener. I mean, I knew about him because of Candy by Cameo and various other sessions that he did, but it was that performance, seeing him on both tenor and the Ewing, that really like opened up my eyes even further.
He was the nicest man I think I've ever known. And I'll tell you, ingenuous. I met him purely by accident. I was doing a recording gig for a gentleman who happened to be selling some instruments, and you know, Mike was interested in one of his tenors, and I had some recording gear going, and he said, "Mike Brecker's coming upstairs to try out this instrument. Why don't you pull out of there?" And I said, "Mike Brecker's here." He said, "Yeah." No, he's not here. I'm like a teeny bopper at this point. So anyway, Mike walks up. He goes, "Hi, you mind if I come in here?" I said, "I'm out." He goes, "What's that? You got some recording gear go?" I says, "Yeah." He goes, "Here, record this. I want to hear what it sounds like. I'm going to try these out." So I'm recording Mike, and we'd play it back. And he said, "Yeah, that sounds good. That one sounds better." And I advanced the tape way too far, and some of my music was on the machine, and it started playing. Now I suck, you know. Michael Brecker was the pinnacle, and I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you know, I'm dust on his shoe at that point. I'm pretty young. He goes, "No, hey, stop, play that. I want to hear that." So I'm embarrassed. I'm turning red, and I play it, and Mike says, "What were you doing right there? I like to rewind that. Play that again." And now he's going through my music, totally not doing what he came up there to do. And he's asking me what I did, why I did it, and to that extent. And finally I told him, I says, probably because I heard you do it. And Mike says, no, he goes, never stop playing and never stop sounding like yourself. He goes, many people try to be people that they're not. He goes, that's the first thing I noticed when I heard what you played. I really like it because I like what you're doing. You sound like you. And I never forgot that.
And I can definitely agree with Brecker on that. You definitely sound like you. You don't sound like anyone else.
Right, and I suck.
But I mean, in the end, it's a beauty when someone prominent like Brecker tells you you sound like yourself and you're not replicating another saxophonist or trying to duplicate. Because one thing we all know, no matter the instrument, I've noticed a lot of artists, they do try to mimic other artists and not sound like them. I mean, it's great to show the influence and like who like encouraged you, but you definitely want to be you. And it's definitely great to see that you're being you.
I had virtually the same conversation with David Sanborn. God bless his soul. I became friendly with him too, not to the same extent as with Mike, but we would talk a little bit about these things. And yeah, there's generations of players that spend umpteen hours trying to develop themselves to be someone else. And I teach, so I try to teach my students. You know, it's important. It's important to try to have your own vision, your own sense of what you should sound like or what you want to sound like.
Right.
You know, don't waste all your time being somebody other than who you are. And it's good advice in anything, I suppose.
Absolutely.
That's all the advice. That's all the advice WMLC gets from me today.
Yeah.
No
But
more.
hey, we appreciate the advice.
I'll be doing a self-help class soon. Thank you.
Well, hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. We'll definitely take it. And in return, we will be showing love via the song "Where Do We Go From Here," which actually got played today.
Thank you for the spin. I do need it. I appreciate it.
Of course, of course. I mean, look, that's why we are here. And it's funny. I mean, people know me as the New Jack Kid, but I also like to showcase other sides to the New Jack Kid. And I was speaking to LC yesterday, and he said, "Yeah, you got a jazzy edge to the Midnight Heat now. Like, what's going on?" I mean, even in college when I did my radio show, like I always had that edge. So, I will continue to showcase that and definitely showcase that through your music as well, because you have greatness and there's a purpose behind your music. So it's really an honor to be spinning the tunes.
I appreciate it. I'll make sure you get the advance on the record. It should be ready in another 2 weeks.
Awesome.
I'll get it out to you. Everybody asks, "What's this one about?" I usually have something in my mind when I'm recording, and I said, "My wife." That's the whole record is. We've been together for 28 years, and it feels like it was 5 minutes. Man, this time goes. Time is nuts.
You know what about that? Time is nuts.
It's just nuts. I think about it all the time. It's 1996 in my mind, but it's not quite anymore, is it?
Hey, I can definitely relate to that being in radio for the past 11 years. I mean, it just feels like I signed on yesterday.
Think about this. Now I'm going nerd on you. Think about technology in 10 years. What's happened? Just in audio. I mean, there's generations now that don't even know what a tape is. We started out on 1/2 inch and 2 inch tapes. I've got them laying around my studio. They look like they keep my doors open, door closers and stuff. I mean, nobody's touching that stuff anymore, but there is a resurgence on vinyl, as you know. So
Yes, it
maybe
is. I mean, you can see it, and I have vinyl in the background.
I did might have noticed a record or two back there. But yeah, that's even 20 years ago. I mean, the things that we can do just with Pro Tools or Logic, you dreamed about things like that, coming up, but hadn't been invented yet. Now I don't take it for granted. I'm enthralled by it. I'm on it every day. But it becomes an extension. I mean, it's almost as what would we do without it? I don't
Yeah.
even know what would do with my rig anymore.
Hey, I always ask myself that. I mean, that's why I've held on to my wax and all the vintage assets that I have, because you never know when you'll need it.
That's right.
You
That's
never
right.
know when you'll need it.
Right.
And but I still do it to where I embrace what's current, because I understand you got to adapt with the sign of the times. So
When I was, I don't know, I wasn't even in the service yet, but maybe it was right around that time when I was working for Paul Kaiser. I would do errands for the studio as well. They kept me in sessions all the time. He says, why don't you run up to such and such a place and go pick up the wax test and bring it back? And I mean, people don't even know they used to test press records on a big hunk of wax. That was the first master to listen to whether or not you were going to press it into vinyl records. I mean, that makes me look like I'm Benjamin Franklin's age, but it was only 30, 40 years ago. I mean, that's not that long ago in a lifetime.
no, I mean, definitely. I mean, I'm 35 and a half, so
So when you were born, they were still doing that, right? And today people don't even know what it is, but
no.
it's crazy. And now what's it going to be next? Is it just going to be a chip? I mean, we're going to be recording to a virtual chip with no gear. That'll probably be what it is.
With spatial audio as the sole focus.
Yeah. Now I just lost you about 20,000 listeners. I'm not going to go into technology. I could do that all day.
But hey, I am definitely certain that the listeners do appreciate everything that you shared today, in addition to the fact that you're true to the music.
Always true. It's always got to be an honest representation.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because it's funny. I had on my friend Diego Herrera on, and we were talking about how music is truly, an art, and you have to love it. So the fact that you do love music, it speaks volume.
Yeah, and and then every now and then you run into a musician and you go, I'll run through a wall with that one. They're so good. Yeah, I remember too. I was working early on. I had been given the call to do some session work for a really young musician by the name of Quincy Patrick. Of course, you already know who he is. So Quincy's got Grammys and he's done amazing work. I'm happy to call him a friend. And when you can watch, maybe I was 7 years older, but you feel like you're a lot older. But you watch a lot of these younger guys that you were working with come up, and they go and they do great things. And with my students, same thing with my students. I've got students that become doctors and surgeons and attorneys, and they still play those instruments. It's there's a little bit of satisfaction to give back through your teaching. Teaching's
Absolutely.
a real important part of this whole game. It can't always be about you.
No, 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 not at all. I mean, it's definitely about giving back,
Yeah.
and that's, I've noticed that with musicians over the years, especially having been in band and in the arts in grade school.
Like when you get a TV gig, that is a drug. That is an addicting drug. You you get your trailers and you get this and you get that and you get treated really good. And I'll take 10 more of that when it comes. But the instance of going from strictly a recording and a performance to a television gig, just a complete life changer. You know, you get royalties pretty much for the rest of your life. There's the fun that you had when you're doing that, but you couldn't get there, in my case, unless it was for that saxophone. And that's how I got on to television. But when I say an addiction, and not in my case, it's all about giving back. You get into that television or motion pictures. That's probably the most single environment. It's all about you. Everything's about you. And you know, I enjoyed myself. I had a good time, but you got to keep yourself in check because the amount of things you do and the people you see and the networks that you create, it can make you selfish. And you know, again, 28 years with the same woman. I don't know how she put up with me, but we're still here, and something must be right. So I think not being selfish and giving back in almost everything is going to be the key.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, you've been able to do so much and you still have her by your side in the midst of doing so much projects, so many albums, and being tied to a big four network. So, I mean, it's incredible, you know, seeing what you have been able to do and what you continue to do today.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed, you know. Time is ticking.
Oh, absolutely. But definitely, you know, keep our fingers crossed and of course continue to show love and of course support you. I mean, again, I'm very happy that you came on today. I mean, and of course, it's great to be back. So thank you for being a part of this whole journey.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in Florida when we start doing our hits down there in 2025. I'll keep you posted on where and when and all that, but we'll be in Florida, no question about it.
Great. Yes, please definitely let us know where, because you know where I'm at currently. So, you know,
Absolutely.
if it's not here, if it's further north or in the Keys, just let me know and we'll make it happen.
Okay, you got a deal.
And before we go any further, do you have any shout outs you'd like to give? I'm sure you want to salute your queen. I mean, hey, please do so if you have anything you want to say.
Well, Judy's probably yelling at me right now behind my back for even mentioning her name. But I love you, and you know it.
And lastly, let the masses know how they can check you out as far as social media and website and so forth.
Okay, so let's see. Well, michaelcates.com is always your first and most easiest way. I'm not really involved that much in the social media. I should be. An agency does it for me, but I am on Instagram at Michael Cates Music. The same on Facebook. And you can probably find everything that I'm doing there as they post that information. And I'll try to make various posts and I send them in and they post them for me. So there I have more information coming about the new album. Again, that'll be January 10th, 2025.
Awesome.
And I'm looking forward to getting those tunes out.
All right. Well, we'll definitely plug that up and continue to wish you the best, continued success, and congratulations on the forthcoming LP.
Thank you, Brandon.